It's your boy a.dTHEweeb back at another video, and today's video gonna be doing with Naruto was like Tobi part 6 or the finale. So yeah, anyways, there's not really any Lego for this part, so yeah, this is pretty much the final part, so there's no Lego. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this series. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not, so I can know if I should keep doing like other what if that or somewhat similar to this, just like otherwise kind of like this basically, right? So yeah, anyways, after basically my next series I'm gonna be focusing on is gonna be what Naruto was in contact with otsutsuki. So yeah, this is pretty much the other series I'll be focusing on after this one, because I posted a poll asking you guys, a couple of polls actually, asking you guys which one you guys want, and this one ended up being basically the one that you guys picked, and I wanted to do that one anyway, so basically that's what I'm gonna be doing. So yeah, anyways, without further ado, get the video started. So let's wave off with Sasuke, as he had just basically returned to the Leaf Village, proclaiming that he will become Hokage after he killed Itachi, as basically the ninjas and civilians had different opinions about Sasuke. The civilians wanted to give him power and even make him the 6th Hokage as soon as possible, but the ninjas wanted to put him in prison for at least 2 months, as that was basically postponed due to the news of the 4th Great Ninja War and so on. So they basically put him back as a ninja, but he was watched 24/7 and was somewhat limited to what he could do. So yeah, like he can't really like go to like everybody's houses. He pretty much has to stay in the area, kind of away from crowds and stuff like that. So yeah, basically we skip over to Naruto, as and Izumi, as they were basically in the hideout, as Izumi was cooking food while Naruto was basically making a lot of sales and getting some last minute weapons and stuff like that. So yeah, they were no longer wearing the Akatsuki cloak. Basically what Suki is wearing is basically this, and just imagine the same thing Tobi was wearing in canon. So yeah, anyways, basically that, and the mask is still the same because never really broke it. But yeah, as we skip an hour later, as we see Naruto had just finished eating, as now they were basically making like, how do I say this? Like basically they were making out, right? They were basically making out like basically crazy, as a voice would basically be heard as they would look down to see Black Zetsu, as he had just come on the ground. As you basically sigh, as you ask what's the matter with Zetsu, as Zetsu basically say it's the white like basically the white Zetsus are done getting ready to battle or whatever. As Naruto basically nod, as he will basically say how much of the 5 Kages are on the battlefield. As Zetsu basically say none of them are currently on the battlefield. The Hokage and Raikage are currently at the headquarters of the Allied Shinobi forces, giving them orders, and the Kazekage and Tsuchikage are working on something I do not know what it is, and the Mizukage is protecting like she's like protecting the daimyos, you know, the like the fire daimyos, lightning daimyos, water daimyos, everything. Basically these guys like in canon. As Naruto raised an eyebrow, as you would say, Izumi, would you say why she's like guarding them? Like basically Izumi would basically ask freaking Zetsu why is she like guarding them, and Zetsu would say, well, like basically she's like the best option that they have because the other Kages are busy and they want strong people to guard them and stuff, and the Kage is like basically the strongest person in the village. As that would happen, as Zetsu would basically yeah. Anyways, basically Naruto basically just nod, as then he'll basically say, it looks like it's time to basically go, as the shinobi away from him will basically how do I say this, freaking hell, I keep messing up, but yeah, anyways, basically Naruto basically say it looks like it's time to go, as he'll basically disappear in a swirling vortex, him and Mio, as yeah, as Zetsu go back on the ground to the Mizukage to fight her like in canon. You know how he ended up getting caught and stuff, basically that. As Naruto and Izumi will basically appear on a giant boulder looking down at a big group of shinobi of the alliance, as Zetsu will basically burst out of the ground like bunch of Zetsus, like the white Zetsus basically, but not all of them, just like a group of them, a couple thousand, as basically they'll burst out of the ground everywhere, as then something would basically from the group that Naruto and Izumi were looking at would happen that would kind of shock them, as the whole battlefield would start to shake, as then like the basically earth around them would basically start to move, as it would go up, as then it would like kind of make a box, like a giant box, as it would slowly squeeze itself and basically crushing all the Zetsus that was in there, and a couple of shinobis that were like ahead basically, as Naruto basically say, oh, so that's what the Kazekage and Shushikage were doing, as they will both appear in front of the group of the alliance, as Naruto and that the group that basically Naruto and Suki was looking at, which is basically the group I'm gonna be focusing on mostly, but yeah, as they basically would like basically the shinobis and Kages who think that it's basically Madara Uchiha and his granddaughter Mio Uchiha, whatever. No, not Mio, Izumi, my bad. As then Naruto and Izumi will basically start to basically clap, as Naruto will basically say that was unexpected, but no matter. I, the great Madara, will kill all of you and accomplish my goal. As you basically jump off the boulder and in unbelievable speed, as you basically start to cut down all the ninja to left and right, as you basically punch a man in the face, break into his face basically, as then a kunai will basically with a paper bong will get thrown at him, as you would catch it mid-air and take the tag off, throwing the kunai back at the ninja, killing him, as then he would basically slap the tag on another ninja's back and kick him to a group of ninja, as the ninja would try to take it off of him, but it couldn't, as you explode, killing a whole group of ninja, as Naruto would basically jump, avoiding a guy that had used headhunter jutsu, as you basically stamp his foot into his face and pushing him back on the ground, and then basically he would grab a sword and cut his head off, and many other shinobis who were basically on him. As meanwhile, Izumi was basically gone. She was following Black Zetsu, as he had basically found Killer B, the 8-tailed Jinchuriki, back to Naruto, as he was currently holding a shinobi by the neck, as you basically had this EMS activated, as you would say, you wish to dance with me as well, as you basically get pushed away by a gust of wind, but he broke the shinobi's neck in the process, as he was getting thrown back, as Naruto will basically be a little bit far and distant from the shinobi alliance, as he will basically look who did that, as Tomari I can never say her name right, bro. Basically got his sister, bro. Shit. Basically got his sister who basically come, the older sister of the Kazekage, as then he will basically Naruto will do a couple of hand signs and say fire star, Majesty Destroyer Flame, shooting out an ocean of fire out of his mouth, as you group of shinobi would step forward, as they would say water star, water wave jutsu, shooting out an ocean of water, making the water become nothing like making the fire in the water become nothing more than steam, blocking their vision. As then they would hear Firestar, Phoenix Fire Jutsu, as multiple fireball shaped like the head of a phoenix would basically come crashing into the army, making massive explosion everywhere, killing many people of the army of Shinobi. As then Naruto would come down and basically then as you basically start to slash and cut people, killing them, as many of them would basically be dead. As then the Tsuchikage would slam his hand into the ground, as then the ground under Naruto would start to shake and then it would raise up, as sand would basically hold onto his arms and leg, as then Sasuke and Mema had basically made up what Sengan makes with Shidori, as they'll basically try to slam it into Naruto, but it will go right to him, as he'll basically also go to the sand, as he'll kick Sasuke and Mema down, but as they will basically get caught by the sand, as they kind of like sand cushion or whatever, as they will basically get back to their feet, as Naruto would basically just be standing there. Meanwhile, Izumi had just come onto a giant turtle that looked like a island basically, as she basically would hear someone rapping, as she would go there to see Killer Bee, as she would smirk, as then she would say she was about to talk to him, but until she realized that he had no idea that she was here, as she would basically smirk evilly, as then she would basically close her arm, as suddenly Killer Bee would basically scream in pain, as there was a giant hole through his chest, as if he was pierced by a giant spike, as he would basically fall on the ground, as then he would transform, as basically what just happened is that Izumi used her power of the Mangekyou to like control the elements. She used the wind infinity to make a spike of wind and shoot it at him, which pierced right through him. So Killer Bee would transform his whole body into the freaking Gyuki, the 8-tailed octopus, to basically let his real body heal, as then Izumi would basically walk out and say, "Don't even bother," as she would say Amaterasu, as her EMS would glow, as the giant 8-tailed octopus would basically caught on fire, black flames, as it would basically scream in pain, as it would basically return back to Killer Bee, basically to his regular human form, but the giant wound on his chest was basically be gone. Instead, it would look like he had basically been stabbed to the chest with like a little sword, but not too big, as then she would basically pick him up and teleport next to Naruto, who was just basically standing on the platform that the Tsuchikage had made, looking down as the newly arrived 5 Kage, as the White Kage would basically dash at Izumi, only for Naruto to raise his hand and say, "Almighty push," seeing him flying back, as then Izumi would basically give Killer Bee his body to Naruto, as Naruto would use his Rinnegan ability to suck the chakra of the 8-tails right out of him, and his soul as well, pretty much, which is why it was fast. As then with the other hand, he would basically do one-handed hand sign and slam his hand into the ground, as you'd say summoning jutsu, Gero Mazu, as it would basically break out of the ground, as then Naruto would basically throw the 8-tailed chakra into his mouth, as it would start to scream, as all of the 9 eyes would basically open, as they would basically start to bleed, as Naruto would say, "Now, to make sure that no one interrupts," as he would basically put his hand behind his back, as then he would shoot them forward, as he would say Woodstar, Deep Forest Emergence, as then he would basically say Woodstar, Deep Forest Bloom, making a giant forest, as then giant plants would open, releasing weird substance that's kind of sticky but it smell nice, but the more you smell it, the more sleepy you get and heavy your body feels. As all the ninja would fall to the ground, with the regular shinobis being unconscious, or they were basically on the ground, very, very weak, almost unconscious, basically. As then the statue would basically stop screaming as the ten tails would appear, like we erupt from its back, whatever. The ten tails would erupt from its back, revealing and releasing a devastating, a bunch of power, basically, alright? As then Naruto and Izumi would jump on his head as two wires like things will basically attach to the back. I don't know what the fuck these things are called, but yeah. Basically the same thing Obito and Madara use to put on the neck to control the ten tails. As Naruto would basically gain control over the ten tails, as then it would basically start to absorb, like change into a charge a giant tail beast bomb, as it would launch it at the shinobi force, only for it to vanish as the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, had just teleported away. As then the third Hokage, it wasn't Tobi, the second Hokage, Tobiyama Senju, and the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, would appear behind him. But there was someone else, someone unexpected, as it would basically be a female with regular joining clothes, but what stood out was her crimson long red hair, as it was Kushina Uzumaki, better known as the Red Death. As then the ten tails would basically start to move towards them, as it would basically stop right in front of them. As then Naruto would basically jump off his head, as you basically say, Izumi, I will be there soon, but from now on, as you basically vanish and appear behind Minato, as you basically slam his Rasengan, like he would like you do a Rasengan and try to slam it on Minato, only for him to miss, as Minato would basically have teleported away using his flying Raijin or Harashin. As then he basically says, "You again." As Minato will basically say, "You again. Will you finally die as and leave this world at peace?" As Kushina would say, "You were the one who took the nine tails from me that night. I'll make sure that you die." As Naruto would shed a single tear. No, my gosh, bro. As you basically shake his head, as he would shed a tear, as you basically say, I thought you would have been different, but this proves that I'm right and to do this." As you basically say Amaterasu, launching black flame at them, but the first Hokage, not the first, basically launching black flames at them, but the first, second, third, and the first Hokage's wood star clone, like a wood clone, had done the same barriers in canon, so they weren't there. It was only Minato and Kushina. As yeah, basically Hashirama would have done some hand sign, as then he would basically say Woodstar, Woodstar, divine deity gate, something like that. Basically, dropping giant gates would basically come out of nowhere, slamming to each of the ten tails, keeping it basically from moving as freely as it once did. As then Naruto basically be fighting with Kushina and Minato, as they had avoided the Amaterasu flames, so they were fine. As Minato had just been basically sitting down, gathering nature energy, but to Naruto, he was just basically sitting down. He didn't really know that he had Sage Mode. As Naruto basically cough out a massive amount of blood, as you look down to see a giant golden chain was basically sticking out of his chest where his heart once was. As Naruto would basically say, "Damn it, how could I have basically gotten so careless?" As you basically fall down, as you would suddenly get grabbed by the face, as Kushina would basically punch him, breaking his mask, revealing Naruto's face, shocking her to the core basically. As Naruto would smirk, as you basically say, "How you freaking hell." Sorry about that. Yeah, basically, Naruto would get grabbed by the face, as Kushina would punch him, breaking his mask, revealing Naruto's face, shocking her to the core. As Naoto would smirk, as you'd say, how as you'd say, are you surprised, mother? I should basically let him be like she would loosen her grip on his face as you might should get away, as he would say perfect, as you get sucked away into a swirling vortex. As you would appear on the 10 next to Izumi, as she would she would look at him in shock, in horror, as Naoto's condition, as she would basically rush to his side, but Naoto would stop her, as you basically say it's time, as she would basically back away, but she'll basically shoot a beam of chakra, giving him some chakra to so he can move better and basically not feel as bad as he should be. As Naruto would basically do a single hand sign in front of his face, as you sought to scream, but was cut off as Minato would appear in a yellow flash and cut him with his kunai, as like basically cut him in half, basically like he did Minato to Obito in canon. As Naoto's body would basically drop limp on the ground, as Izumi would burst out into tears, as Minato would say, "It's over, I'm sorry, my son," as then Naoto would basically cough up a little bit of blood, as you basically say, "What makes you think that, Dad?" And on the contrary, it's just beginning, as the Ten Tails will basically start to get like sucked towards him, as well, basically, as Naoto would basically as Minato would basically jump away. Basically, everyone would jump away except Izumi, who would use her wind to make her fly. As the Ten Tails would become nothing more than a giant crystal in the sky, like a giant circle crystal in the sky, kind of like a moon. As they would basically, the crystal would start to crack until it broke, revealing Naoto completely healed, but with two horns on his head, pale white skin, as Naruto would basically smirk, as then he would say, I like I said before, this is only the beginning, as then Naruto, he would basically clap his hand together, as he would say, Rene rebirth, as a sudden body would, like the body of a man, would start to appear out of thin air, as he had red armor, long black hair, like long spiky black hair covering one of his eyes, and the only visible eyes being black eyes. Then he would basically say Obito, as you basically stop, as then he would say, no, you're not Obito, as then who are you, as are you his fucking hell, are you his replacement? As Naruto would basically nod, as you'd smirk, as you'd say, but I'm also much more than that. As mother would say, what do you mean? As Naruto would raise his hand and say universal pull, pulling Izuna towards him, as he would kiss her with a smirk on his face, as Mother would activate his EMS and make a Susanoo arm, like a rib cage Susanoo arm, as the blade would be in it, as basically he would try to slice at Naruto, but Naruto would basically go right to him. His mother would basically say, well, I guess I see you have his ability as well, as Naruto would nod, but before he could continue, Mother was flying, as Izuna was hugging him very, very tightly, as Mother would basically sigh, as we skip 10 minutes later, as Mother would say, so Naruto, since you basically became the 10th Shuichi, what will you do? Will you basically put the world in the infinite Tsukuyomi? As Naruto would say, no, I know that was your goal, and that was my original goal, originally mine as well, but I changed my mind. I don't want to live in a dream world, but instead I will live as an immortal god who shall rule this world and make sure that war and conflict never happens again. As Madara would basically nod, as well, and say, well, I don't know if your plan will work, but I will go along with it. But if your plan fails, I will get the tentacles out of you and do the genjutsu. As Naruto would basically nod, as then he would basically turn around and say, plus, if we're in a genjutsu, I won't be able to truly clap your granddaughter. As Naruto basically sort to run away from a pissed off Madara, as Naruto basically be laughing like a madman. As basically 5 years later, as over the war was over and everything after that, as over the years, Madara and Izumi had basically Naoto, Madara, and Izumi freaking destroyed the five great nations and all of the other villages and created a massive village in pretty much the middle of the world, as basically making peace into the world, as Naoto and Izumi had done the deeds, if you know what I mean. And Izumi had a daughter named Naoto and Izumi had a daughter named Mio Uchiha, named after Izumi's little nickname, as that basically she used in the past. And also, they had a son named Tobi, named after Obito Uchiha and Naruto, as Menma and Sasuke ended up both basically dating Hinata, but they found out that she couldn't really have child, so they were basically never able to do so, like basically produce whatever. Mito was basically still single, as Madara eventually found a girl that he basically got with and had a son named Izuna Uchiha after his older brother. I mean, not older, younger brother, my bad. Over the years, Hanabi Hyuga would basically have gotten close to Mio and Tobi and Izuna, making her get close to Naoto, Madara, Izumi, and all of them in the process, as they found the way that she basically acts very amusing, as Naoto basically created two tracker foods made Madara took one in Izumi as well, as they basically were basically more immortal now in terms of age, not injury wise, as Naruto did the same for their child, as they would basically end up to watch the child grow, not worry about going to the ninja academy, since that does not exist anymore. You can basically train your child, but no need for academies. Naruto and Izumi basically watch the child go, whatever, become kind of like about ninjas, but not really, because ninjas don't exist anymore, as they took away chakra. Not really took away chakra, just like made it so no instructors anymore, so no, it's not gonna be ninjas and all of that. So they made sure peace would basically happen forever, as basically Naruto and Izumi, Madara, and Hanabi, not well, a little bit Hanabi would train the basically Tobi, Mio, and Izuna to basically become ninjas. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm gonna bring off. If you guys liked it, this is pretty much the end of the series. So yes, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Also, I'll be focusing, the next series I'll be focusing on next is Wife Naruto was Otsutsuki. Not Otsutsuki, fucking hell. Wife Naruto was in contact with the Otsutsuki, is my bad. But yeah, this is pretty much the next series I'll be focusing on. And this was basically Wife Naruto was like Tobi, the final. So there won't be any more of this series unless I do a redo, which is not very likely, to be honest with you. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of this series in general, and if you satisfied with the ending. But yeah, anyways, without further ado, I'm gonna be off for now. Peace.